Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
For higher PENDREAM TV in Pachos, and your first time I subscribe to channel no found Sabo Addo money to set the video be a tour. Ube first person I website. Usha video new send a voice note to mine. I was 0277 128 777 0277 128 777. I be bo atregana for na.
You see, Randy, I want to describe what has happened so far to be man-made. I say it is not a natural disaster, and I say this without any equivocation. Why do I say it is a man-made disaster? Randy, available data suggests that if you look at June 2022, the water level in the reservoir, and you compare the water level as at June 2023, anybody, any planner would know that the water level as at June 2022 was almost 6 times the water level as at June 2022. So what it tells you already is that, look, we are heading towards a big problem ahead of us. And therefore, it requires proactive leadership. In the year 2010, when the water level got to the point, almost 172, duty bearers did not wait. VRA, Ministry of Interior, because of the security implication of a spill, and the Ministry of Energy, here, the energy implication, because if you spill beyond certain level, it will affect how much water is also in the dam. So these interministerial sectorial agencies all met and supervised this process. Randy, in the specific case of the 15th September 2023 spill, nothing of that sort happened. I've heard people say, oh, they had gone there to do simulation among other things. Far-fetched. Completely far-fetched. Because, Randy, what has happened is that the VRA officials, also looking at the possibility that if they spill too much, it can result in doomsday, decided to adopt a wait-and-see strategy. So by September, the water level had gotten to the point where if you don't spill too much, you undermine the integrity of the dam itself. And hence, the problem that we are facing. In 2010, when this thing happened, nobody saw this level of devastation. So already on the face of even their own conduct, one can see issues of negligence. Complete negligence, complete inaction. And for want of a better word, deliberation. Because, Randy, we had the opportunity to have done this in a regulated manner, starting from June, gradually. Then you know have gotten about 2 billion cubic feet of water accumulated in the dam, which had resulted. So because they have so much water in the reservoir, now they had to spill more. And you see, Randy, VRA had a dredging unit. Because you see, at the tail end, the estuary, water moves with sand. And so it dredges the tail end, it silts the tail end. So that dredging unit had a responsibility that prior to this, they would have opened up the estuary. That was not done. So if you look at the record, duty bearers effectively just went to sleep. And we woke up one morning, the huge disaster. If you do a tour, an assessment, you notice that the Mepe area looks like the epicenter of the crisis. Simply because Mepe is where the Volta Lake or river meanders. And because it's also low-lying, then they just took everything to town. I saw a situation where cemeteries are completely taken over by water. The road from Mepe to Sogakope is completely taken over. You have a situation where now people are using canoe or boats on roads, ironically. And so if you pick all of this information, how duty bearers acted irresponsibly, acted with a lot of inaction, you'd expect that government officials, when they are speaking, would do so with salt. Their language will be salted. We saw how the president, in the midst of this crisis, started talking about votes. Oh, you, if it's about who votes for me, who doesn't, I won't even come here. Mr. President, you are still living, believing that you are doing us a favor. You are not. In any case, what has your presence there even done to the people? It even came to annoy them. As for the vice president, like I pointed out the last time, he was out there looking for votes in the midst of the crisis until his boss returned from the US, only for him belatedly to run to the people. As the acting president, when the crisis happened, there was a certain leadership response that was required. Nothing of that sort. I've heard the deputy minister, I think Westenhausen, basically now gaslight the people.
Who's that?
Frida.
Oh, she's the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources.
Oh, she took over from Madam Cecilia Dapa.
Yes.
And look at the kind of thing that she's saying to the people. Randy, even for the sake of argument, let's even say that what she's saying is even the correct thing to say in the midst of this crisis. Randy, when VRA decided, according to them, they had done simulation and it was clear that the level was going to be problematic. Did VRA even put a tent, looking like hen coop, somewhere, that, hey, I am coming to effectively do forced evacuation. So when it happens, go and stay in these hen coops. Nothing of that sort. So when the minister says that, oh, the people should have moved to where, Madam Minister? Madam Minister. So if you listen from the president, the minister, the obvious lack of emotional intelligence demonstrated, one begins to feel that either the president has checked out, he doesn't care anymore, or the minister does not even appreciate the extent of her work as a minister of state. How did we even get here, Randy? When, if small proper planning would have avoided all of these things. In any case, like I pointed out, this is not the first time that we are spilling. This is not. It was done 73. It was done in the 80s. It was done in the 90s. As late as 2010, it was done. Each one of these did not see this level of devastation. How come that we are having it now? Because duty bearers went to sleep.
Since the person, the lady you spoke about, the Honorable Minister, she is Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources.
Okay, Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources.
Okay. Now, this is exactly what she said, and I want to deal with the quotes. And she was speaking at a forum organized by the Ghana Water Company Limited and its customers in Accra. Quote, the Akosombo Dam spillage, even though Volta River Authority National Disaster Management Organization, the Water Resources Commission, came together to educate the people in the community and did simulation exercises with them, even at Mepe. Yet they refused to leave. They did not want to be evacuated. And they stayed there till the end when we started spilling. Unfortunately, look at what is happening. And the government has to spend millions of money on relief items and education. The water in the whole area is contaminated, and the Ghana Water Company and Water Resources Commission will have to spend millions of money to treat the water before we can pass it through our pipes. So a stitch in time saves 9. Sometimes it's difficult to accept the situation, but we will plead with all of you to accept it as it is. Water is life and is essential to everything. Okay, so
you see, Randy, so she completely got it wrong. When you spill this volume of water, and the water will find its way and goes to people's houses, how is that their fault? They are not responsible for the late spillage of the dam. They are not responsible. Now they claim that they've been asked to move. Randy, if government had prudently established a relocation camp for the people, who will still be at his place? 2, when the minister says that the people didn't move, Randy, do you know why? This particular thing, beyond the loss of properties, there've not been any loss of life. It's because the people acted proactively. If the people had stayed, and Randy, if you look at where the water level had reached in the roof of some people, their houses and others, if they were not proactive, they would have been drowned. But because the people responded to calls from official or duty bearers, that is why you notice that it is their properties that have been damaged and not their lives. And government did not make any provision whatsoever by way of relocation or even establishing relocation camp. So, Madam Minister, it appears she herself has not even visited the place. She doesn't even know what she's talking about. If she had taken the pain to visit the affected people, to know exactly the condition they find themselves in, she will not be making this emotionally unintelligent comment. And I feel so sad that she will be saying these kind of things. What the people there need now is empathy, psychologists among others, who will be able to help them out of the trauma. Doctors who will begin to do assessment of the health implication. Look, on this note, I want to at least acknowledge the effort by the education minister, subsequently though, to assess the damage relative to educational infrastructure within the locality. Right today, most of the people affected, they are having to stay in classrooms. So the classrooms have been turned into makeshift dwelling places for the persons who have been displaced. See, Randy, if you pick a town like Mepe, you know this is not the original place. It used to be a bit more closer until in the 1960s when the decision was made to construct the dam. And then they had to move to the current location. If you go to New Bakpa and all those surrounding communities, you notice that where they are now are not the original settlement. If you go to the upper part of the Volta, the Kratchi areas, Kabete, Tepa, Abotuase, Dambai, and the rest, you notice that that is not the original settlement. They have to be relocated. And I've always maintained, if this morning you are even watching us on television, you have charged your phone fully that you are able to watch online, and you do so by way of electricity, remember that the pain that the people are going through now is the sacrifices they have to pay for you and I to have the benefit of electricity in this country. Now, when people sacrifice this much for the building of a national asset, ministers of state should not be acting in this manner. It is most reckless, it's unfair, it's insensitive, it does not appreciate the pain that the people are going through in the specific areas. And so, Randy, I think this point ought to be drummed home clearly, that government is not doing them a favor, Madam Minister. Thank you, Randy.
So on the 12th of September, this was a release from the VRA before the
15th spillage.
It says the Volta River Authority wishes to inform the general public that it has observed a consistent rise in the inflow pattern and water level of the Akuffo Dam. In line with our emergency preparedness plan and standard operating procedures, the Volta River Authority has duly notified its key stakeholders of this development. The reservoir level as of today suggests that we may need to commence controlled spilling in the coming days should the situation persist. VRA therefore wishes to caution all residents, and please listen to this carefully. VRA therefore wishes to caution all residents along the Volta River and downstream of our Akuffo and Pond dams to be on alert and take the necessary precautionary measures. VRA will continue to monitor the situation, work with our key stakeholders, and provide regular updates to ensure prompt response to any emergency that may arise. This was 3 days before
and you see, Randy, I have even made the point that for the sake of transparency, for the sake of accountability, let VRA publish the simulation report that was done from June till September when the spill actually. They should publish
No, but if you look at the 12th report,
I get it. But
this is a statement issued on the 12th. This is not a statement that is even telling you that people have been asked to evacuate, or the VRA has is facilitating evacuation. Yes, it's facilitating evacuation, and people are refusing to evacuate.
And so when the minister,
if you read the statement from the MEPE Development Association, they raise some key issues. They say that first of all, they are asking for answers to these questions. Can the minister tell the nation which parts of MEPE traditional area, the VRA and NADMO conducted a so-called simulation exercise before the spillage? How many people from MEPE were included in the said simulation exercise? How many times was the simulation exercise conducted? How extensive was the community engagement? And they say that we wish to make it clear that the MEPE Traditional Council, MEPE Development Association, opinion leaders, and all key stakeholders were not engaged in any simulation exercise or post-simulation exercise as claimed by the minister. How such an important exercise could escape the eyes and ears of these key stakeholders in the community leaves one to wonder whether the monies expended on the simulation should not be refunded to the state coffers. The minister also mentioned that the people of MEPE refused to evacuate before the spillage. Evacuate to where? There were no official temporary shelter facilities provided by the state for the people in the event of an evacuation. It was the leadership of the MDA, that's the MEPE Development Association, in consultation with the chiefs, that took the initiative to create 7 makeshift safe havens for the affected flood victims in the following locations: MEPE RC Primary, RC JHS, MEPE Presby Primary, Presby JHS, DA JHS, Holy Christ, and St. Kizito Secondary Technical School. Out of these 7 safe havens, only St. Kizito, which currently houses 1,320 displaced persons, received 6 mobile toilets just this past Friday, provided by the VRA after persistent appeals. Just on Friday. Is the minister aware that over 1,000 displaced Ghanaian citizens are now relying on just 6 mobile toilets at St. Kizito? Is she informed that the remaining 6 safe havens in MEPE do not have any mobile toilets? And does she know that the displaced victims, including children and women, are exposed to mosquitoes and other dangerous reptiles every night? We also question how many litter bins, mosquito nets, and access to clean water for drinking, cooking, and bathing a Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources has provided the people of MEPE since the man-made flood disaster. The MDA calls on the minister to inform the nation about the ministry's response to the looming health crisis in the affected communities, the contamination of water sources, and the unsanitary conditions created by the flood. It is time for real action. Madam Minister, show up. As a community, we've had enough of misinformation and disinformation from official sources since the flood disaster occurred. We are still grieving and emotionally distraught. All we request is respect for our sensitivity and dignity during these challenging times in our history. We urge all state appointees and communicators to refrain from making ill-informed and uneducated comments that blame the flood victims for this state-created disaster. The state must acknowledge its role and take responsibility for the mess it has created, showing remorse and empathy towards the affected communities. Let us refrain from exacerbating the pain of our people, the poor and the vulnerable. Minister Freda Prempeh. The MDA calls on the minister to unreservedly and immediately apologize to the chiefs and people of Mepe for a misspoke and unfortunate comments.
You see, Randy, yes. Just to conclude on this, and you see, in all of this, Randy, but for the opinion leaders, the traditional authorities, the Mepe Deployment Association, their timely intervention would have been a worse crisis than what we are seeing today. This is a crisis that has never happened in the last 60 years. This is a crisis that has affected, Randy, in excess of 6 regions of this country: Bono, Oti, Volta, Eastern, Greater Accra. And the call on the president, okay, to declare a state of emergency that puts the matters in proper perspective have basically fallen on deaf ears. I don't know what is stopping Mr. Akuffo Addo from declaring a state of emergency. I don't know. Mr. President, if you declare a state of emergency, it will not reduce your salary. Rather, it puts all the national attention on the crisis that is happening now. The elders at the Council of State, among others, with respect, are you on leave? Are you on vacation?
Maybe they are in touch with the authorities, but obviously they will not be making public those discussions.
No, but you see, Randy, this is so. Look, there's a state in the U.S. One of these typhoons or whatever. It just happened a few days. The governor has already declared a state of emergency. That is how you resolve a crisis that has affected in excess of 5 regions out of 16. When was the last time we've had a national crisis of this nature? And so the body language of Mr. Akuffo Addo suggests a person who basically is downplaying the extent and magnitude of this crisis. And I find it extremely unfortunate. Extremely unfortunate. This is not how to govern. The misgovernance is too much. And the time had come for duty bearers to be more proactive when circumstances like this happen. I mean, these people didn't bring it upon themselves. They never did.
So we'll be crossing over to speak with Annie shortly. She is actually there now. Now, one of our viewers sends an interesting twist to this. He says the simulation exercise was dubbed Dawonhusu, as in tree. Says that in a predominantly global speaking areas, is it surprising that the message didn't sink in well? It says this shortcoming speaks volumes. Okay, so Dawonhusu. Okay, all right. So that's some information that
maybe they had an interpreter.
We're actually getting. Okay, all right. Okay. So Makoyo Boafo, as we get ready to cross over or to link up with Annie, Makoyo Boafo is watching us in the States. It sent me something that happened in Libya in 2023. Says a catastrophic flooding that struck eastern Libya on September 10 and 11, 2023. More than 4,000 people were killed, some 10,000 were missing after heavy rains generated by Storm Daniel. That's a strong Mediterranean cyclone, drenched the area and brought flooding to the region. And he's saying that the dam started filling up around 8 p.m. But at midnight, it was only half full. It was between midnight and 2 a.m. that the water started rising at a dangerous speed. By 2 a.m., the water reached 2 meters above the dam, pouring over to the other side. That gradually weakened the dam structure, causing it to collapse. It says this is what happened in Libya. It says, should we have waited for a disaster to happen in Ghana before spilling? It says, it seems VRA was between the devil and the blue sea. Let's be measured in our criticism. That's his view on this issue. I think that the issue really is not about it's about what the VRA did.
It wasn't even sudden, like his point. The Libyan situation was so sudden. This is not a sudden, increase in water levels, Mark.
Okay. So, for channel I share video we also PENDREAM TV mpacho wa share we adwuntwa bia wo fa video yi no ho bia no send my 0277128777 0277128777 WhatsApp number no send your voice ne bra na bebo magana for nyina ate wonka
dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase na so far so good say open online portal e wo Ghana nipa share nipa follow nipa comment here to my best of knowledge without any biases PENDREAM TV.